Hello all, welcome to Get Set Law. So in today's video, we'll be talking about how you can prepare for your NLSAT 3-year LLB exams properly. So this exam is just around the corner and we have approximately 1 month left for this exam. So what should be your strategy, how you can prepare for this examination, that is going to be your motto for today's video, and that is something that we'll learn out of today's video. So make sure you're watching this video till the end. So let's get started without any further delay, right? So when we talk about NLSAT examination, often I've seen that students are doing it in a manner which might not be fruitful for the exam, or what exam is testing is not actually considered by the students, and then they just go for the rat race where they're just mugging up everything, memorizing everything. But that is where the problem is. That is where you end up scoring like the average student does, right? So what mistakes are we making? What are the areas that we should be focusing upon when we talk about this examination is, first and the most important thing is, when you are reading GK for your entire day. So one thing that you have to focus is not spending all your time on reading GK, because this section has different sections, different subjects. This exam comprises of all of this. So that is why our focus should not be on one specific subject. Rather, our focus should be on covering everything comprehensively. That should be our focus for this examination. So if you are spending your entire day reading those PDFs for GK from everywhere that you are getting on YouTube, on internet, or everywhere, that is the first wrong move that you are doing. So stop doing that. Remember that one source is enough for you. Stick to maximum 2 sources, but not more than that. That is sufficient for covering the GK. Please don't endlessly start memorizing and munging up GK. That is the first mistake. Second is memorizing law facts. So this exam is not testing your memorizing skill. It is not testing that. It is testing how you think, whether you can think like a lawyer, whether you have that acumen, whether you have that basic knowledge of or critical thinking ability inbuilt in you. That is something that this exam tests. So if you are spending your time memorizing those legal concepts, if you are spending your time memorizing the case law's name and everything, that is again your wrong move. We should not do that. Next is, are you still confused about that? Okay, ma'am, if you are mentioning that, okay, we cannot read GK, we don't have to memorize law, then what exactly are we going to do in this for this examination? So that is something that we'll be talking about in today's video. So let's get into that. So when we talk about what this exam really tests, so it is not testing your knowledge. Right now, all of you are law aspirants. It is not testing that you know different sections. It is not testing you know different laws, if you can interpret all of those things. It is not testing that. Only thing that it is testing is your thinking ability. So it is talking about how properly you can, how actually you can think when you are given certain facts, when you are given certain circumstances, how critically you can think and how critically you can apply those principles. That is what this exam tests. It does not test your memorizing skill. Second, and the most important thing that this exam further test is the clarity that you have when you are presenting your arguments. So when you look at the pattern of this examination, there are 2 sections available to it. There are 2 different parts available to it, part A and part B, which test different skills. This test is created in a manner to test your different skill. First, it tests MCQ based skill, where you have to critically think, eliminate, and move forward, reach out to the correct answer. Second, it also tests your argumentation skills, how well you can present your argument, how well you can draft your argument. And that is what these 2 sections test in a student who is appearing for this examination. And your preparation should accordingly be focused around honing these skills, around improving these skills. That is what this exam is all about, right? So when we talk about problems that often comes up, what students generally do when they are preparing for their exam, for this examination, they indulge in lot of passive reading, where you are just reading, you are just highlighting the relevant part and moving on. You're not actively engaging in solving questions. So you don't have to passively read anything. It is not for you to grasp what different concepts are. It is rather for you to understand those concepts and apply it, think, right? That is what this exam is all about, solving questions. If you are not taking mocks, you're not writing answers thinking that when I will go for the exam I will be able to write it, it's not that way. It does not happen that way. So you have to make sure that you are not indulged in passive reading, rather you are indulged in more active preparation for this examination. That is the key for this examination that you have to focus upon. So I will give you a 5 step strategy that you have to follow, and trust me, if you follow this 5 step strategy as given step by step without missing out on a single step, this is your key to success. You can succeed if you are following these strategies as it is, as I have mentioned here in this video. So what should be your first step? First step should be reading. Read what is given, read the information that is there, think around it, that what information is trying to mention, what information is trying to uh, tell you here. So that is the second step. Then try to write around it, test your knowledge, and spend time analyzing it. Once you analyze what you have written, then only you are able to fix your mistake. Otherwise what will happen is you will keep repeating the mistakes that you have made. So that is not something that we want for this examination, right? So this is the first, this is the only strategy that you will need for this examination. If you follow this strategy diligently, you are good to go. Now I will break down your preparation of this examination, how you should proceed in the next 4 weeks that is available for you. So what should be your way in this examination, the preparation for that should increase every week, how you should pace up every week to prepare well for this examination. So we are starting with week 1, where we are talking about understanding this exam. So whenever you're targeting any competitive examination, the most important part is to understand that examination first. It is not a theory paper that you're targeting. It is an exam which is focused around which requires or which tests certain ability of yours. So you need to understand that what abilities are being tested, where do I stand, what all things I have to work upon. And in order to know that, in order to understand about the examination, you need to solve previous year paper. That is the first and the most important part. That is from where your journey will begin. I always mention this to all my students. If you are targeting any examination, the first and the most important step should be starting with previous year paper, understanding the paper pattern, and then accordingly you modify your strategies so as per your strengths and weaknesses. And you will be able to understand your strengths and weaknesses only when you solve the paper, only when you see where do you stand in actual paper. So previous year paper is your first and the most important thing. Second is solving RCs, because this exam is highly around focused around reading, interpretation, thinking, right? So here you have to make sure that when we talk about reading comprehensions, every day you are solving at least 2 reading comprehension. This should be your bare minimum target here, that every day I am solving 2 reading comprehension. This will help you in improving your reading speed, this will help you in improving your thinking process, this will also help you in critically thinking and looking for answers. That is something which is required in this examination. And appearing for MCQs, because once we read or once we solve reading comprehension, once we have understood what is given in the passages, then you also have to solve MCQs. So minimum 20 to 25 MCQs are something that you should be targeting for the week 1. That should be your goal. So you are focusing upon building a base here. So once we have built the base, then we move forward to the second week. So this week is all about building your skill. This week is where, since we already have a base now, so this is the week where we build, where we improve, where we build our skills, right? So we will increase the number of MCQs to 20 now. So by 20 now, so it is 40 MCQs on a daily basis that you're supposed to solve. Apart from it, you have to keep an error log. So when you are solving question, it is very natural that you will make some error. It is very natural that you will not be able to get all the answers right. This is where analysis part comes in. This is where you have to sit and analyze that, okay, if I have made an error, then what went wrong here? What was the error that I made? Why I missed out on elimination of a particular option? That is something that you have to mention in the error log, and that is, this error log will come in handy to you towards the time when you are going to appear for the examination. I'll tell you how this error log will be helpful for you in next few minutes. But as of now, this should be your week 2 strategy. Because we have increased solving questions, error log is very important. Maintaining a notebook, a diary where you just jot down what errors you made. Maybe it could be as simple as, okay, I was procrastinating at that point of time, or maybe I was zoned out at that point of time, or maybe I was sleepy when I was solving this. It could be as simple as this, and could be as tricky as, maybe I missed out on interpreting certain word. So jot down every smaller detail that you have, because of which you failed to reach to the correct answer. That is the strategy that I'm talking about. That is the error log that I'm talking about. And most important thing that we are incorporating from week 2 is answer writing, because part B is heavily oriented towards writing answers, is heavily directed towards writing answers. And since most of us might not be in that practice of writing answers, or we might have been in the practice of using short forms when we are writing the answer, that is one error, right? So try that you are writing at least two answers on a daily basis. Try that you are writing at least two answers on a daily basis. That is very important for you to improve your writing speed and your thinking speed as well. That is something that is required for this examination. So your week 2 is building your strategy, building your skill. That is what your week 2 is all about. Moving on to the week 3, where we heavily indulge into solving mocks, because till here we were building our skills, we were targeting sections differently. Now we will indulge in solving full length papers, where we'll see that all my preparation that I have been doing for past 2 weeks, how it is turning out when I'm actually sitting and solving a full length paper, when I'm actually sitting and solving a paper which is similar to exam, right? So you have to make sure that you are solving at least 3 to 4 full length mocks on this week, on the week 3rd. And this does not end here. Just that you have just solved, you have seen where you have made error, this does not end here. You have to sit and you have to analyze that paper properly, that what was the error, what went wrong, what you could have done better. So maintaining that error log is also important in this week, because you are solving an entire paper. Time management was the problem. Maybe I could not think properly during the exam. The clock was ticking and I got panicked. I was not able to understand certain words. I was not able to focus on screen, or whatever was the problem that you faced when you were solving the question paper. That is something that you have to mention. That is something that you have to keep a tab of, right? So that is again very important when we talk about week 3. Now is your final week, when we will finally make sure that all our effort are concluding towards our success, are contributing towards our success. So this week is here we will be solving more mocks. We'll be solving approximately 5 to 6 mocks in this entire week. We will revise everything from the error that we have made. So now is the time for you to use that error log and revise everything where things have gone down, things have gone wrong. That is the main idea. Here you revise everything. This week is all about understanding what mistakes you have made, using it here in these mocks to improve your scores. So the errors that you have made, make sure that they are not coming in here. You are not repeating those same errors, and that is why revision becomes important. And here I would suggest one thing, because already we are writing answers, already we are reading comprehensions. I would suggest, please do not indulge in any new topic here. Whatever you have learned, whatever you have understood, any GK news, anything, that is sufficient, because the paper is already around the corner and the paper is already decided. There's no point adding something new to your repository right now, because that topic has a very minimal chance of appearing in your examination and you will be just wasting your time there. So instead, whatever you have learned over the period of these 3 weeks, try to revise all of those things, try to work around all of those things. That is something that is going to help you in the examination. Work around those things that you have learned in the past 3 weeks instead of adding something new. So this is going to be your last week, right? Here, when we talk about MCQs, right? So your part A is heavily MCQ oriented part, right? So here you read the passage, then you go and you start elimination, right? So when we talk about this examination is more focused on testing your logic, right? So instead of reaching to the correct answer, try to eliminate incorrect options. So when you are able to correctly eliminate the options, then you are sure that the answer that you have marked is correct, right? That should be your main strategy when we are solving part A of this examination, that where our main focus is upon elimination of incorrect options instead of finding the right answer. So when you use that logic, when you apply that logic, you're able to get to the correct answer. That is the first part. Make sure that you are practicing these MCQs on a daily basis, because your part A is consists entirely of MCQs. So make sure that you are practicing it daily. The pattern that we just discussed, that these are the number of questions that we'll be practicing on a daily basis, and these are the minimum question, that this is something that you have to do. If you are able to sit for longer hours, go ahead, sit, solve more. That is fine, but this is the minimum that you should be doing, that I have mentioned here, that this is something that you should be actually incorporating, right? When we talk about part B, some students give less weightage to part B, but let me tell you something, your part B is the one that decides whether you get into NLSIU or you don't get into NLSIU. So that is why focusing on part B is very important. I'll give you a small tip for part B also. When you're structurizing your answer, make sure that you are following this pattern. Start with an introduction. Your answer should always be structured, because this is not about how well you could write, but rather this is more about what is the structure of your answer, whether you are able to present the correct arguments supporting your viewpoint, whether you are able to think of certain pointers that are relevant for the answer, and that is something that is required here, not your skill where you can recall a lot of information which is not already available for you, right? So the tip would be that start with an introduction, move towards the argument where you are supporting or supporting your claim that you have mentioned, that you have claimed, supporting your side, counter which part could be countered, which could not be countered, try to counter that, and then conclude it properly. Give a proper conclusion, starting with hence, or what is the final answer for it, what is the final conclusion for it. Make sure that you are reaching or taking a balanced approach, and you are being neutral, you are not letting biasness seeps in. So that is something which is very important for your part B. That is why I'm telling you that follow this step for all the answers in part B, and your part B is good to go. So that is about your MCQs and your part B, where your writing skills are tested. So when we talk about this examination, this exam requires you to think like a lawyer. It does not require you to have a lot of legal information, but the fact that you have that ability to think critically, to think logically, that is something that is tested here. Whenever you're marking an answer, use certain concepts like what is fair, what is just in this case. Can I actually reach to a just conclusion if I am solving this, instead of being choosing an extreme option? Always try to reach out to a balanced answer. That is what a lawyer does. Instead of being an extremist going for either side, try to come up for a neutral answer. Try to think logically and reach out to a correct answer. That is something which is required in this case, and in to excel in this examination. That is the key, that is the mantra for this examination that I would like you to follow for this examination. So minimum try sitting and studying, because the exam is just 1 week, in just 1 month. So make sure that you are sitting and spending approximately 6 to 8 hours study. I am not going to tell you that prepare a plan where you are sitting and doing 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour like this, but it should be rather topic oriented. If I have to complete 2 reading comprehensions and reasoning. If it requires 2 hours, great. If it requires 3 hours, great, I'll sit and do it. So make sure that you're focusing on reading comprehension, reasoning, then solving your MCQ targets, then your GK and your writing. So all these sections are simultaneously covered. This is a lump sum time estimate, but you don't really have to stick to it. Rather, you should be focusing upon topics, or the number of questions that you have targeted to cover, the number of questions that you want to write. That should be your main focus for the exam, right? So this is an average for all those students who keep asking ki ma'am kitna time, how much time should we spend on preparing for this examination. This is an estimate, this is an average estimate. So again, I'm telling you, make sure that you are covering things topic wise, target wise for a day, instead of just sitting and procrastinating for 2 hours. Otherwise that will not count. I'm sitting and I'm just looking at one passage, I've solved one passage in 2 hours. That is not making any sense. I have to solve minimum 20 to 40 questions, right? So that is the time that counts. So try spending this much time, try to focus a little bit on the examination, and you are good to go from here. Just keep in mind certain mistakes that you should avoid when you are writing. Avoid passive study. Please do not please try that you are indulged in active solving of mocks, actively solving questions, instead of just reading, highlighting and grasping the knowledge. uh, Try writing, try to practice writing on a daily basis. Please do not skip this, because that is where you might uh, you might miss out on writing certain questions in the examination. So make sure that you are practicing your writing part on a daily basis, and please do not refer a lot of sources. Stick to one or two sources and you're good to go. Please do not indulge in a lot of sources for your preparation. That is just going to confuse you and will give you multiple pointers for just one type of topic that you are covering. So it will not give you variety, but if you stick to one source, it will give you a lot of variety. So make sure you can broaden your horizon to uh, maximum two sources, but not more than that. That is not advisable, right? So make sure that you are doing that. Now when we talk about this exam, just make sure that you are thinking, practicing on a daily basis, writing examination and analyzing your exams, analyzing your mistakes. Whatever mistakes you have made, you are thinking properly, you are understanding what errors you have made, and you are working on it. And if you are doing all of this, you are good to go. That is the major part of this examination. That is where you improve, right? So we have built a base and then we have to improve. That is the main idea. You don't have to mug up anything, you don't have to memorize anything. So I hope this video was helpful for all of you. If you like this video, do let me know in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and if you want previous year paper for NLSAT examination, make sure to write plan in the comment section, and if I get 5 comments, I will share the previous year paper link on our Telegram channel. So the link is in the description box. Make sure that you join our Telegram channel. If this information was useful, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much.